Loneliness is the destiny of every great spirit. Why does it seem that the smarter a person becomes, the more they distance themselves from the noise of the world? Because brilliant minds don't find peace in crowds or endless chatter. They find it in the quiet of an empty room. Arthur Schopenhauer, almost 2 centuries ago, explained this truth without sugarcoating it. He saw that most of what we call social life is just a disguise. Endless roles, shallow conversations, and constant comparisons that drain us more than they give. For the average person, this goes unnoticed. But for thinkers, those who see beyond the mask, the noise becomes unbearable. Maybe you felt it too, surrounded by people, smiling, talking, pretending to enjoy yourself, yet leaving with a strange emptiness inside. Why does this happen? Schopenhauer believed it's because intelligence and inner depth cannot survive for long on the surface. This message is not for everyone. It's for those who have been told they're too intense. For those who don't understand the fascination with the trivial. For those who find more fulfillment in a book, a walk alone, or a deep thought than in a group chat. Schopenhauer's harsh truth was this: social life is often a trap, not a gift. It's not only the noise of streets, parties, or meetings he warned about, but also the mental noise, gossip, small talk, pressure to have an opinion on everything. Most people can't stand silence because silence brings uncomfortable questions. Who am I? What do I really want? Does my life have meaning? To escape these questions, society invented the cure of constant social noise. But for the awakened mind, this cure is worse than the disease. Think of an artist painting. Every 5 minutes, someone interrupts him. What happens to his masterpiece? It becomes a broken sketch. That's how intelligent people feel when forced into endless social obligations. Not arrogant, just exhausted. For them, each shallow conversation steals energy. Each social mask betrays their true self. And here lies Schopenhauer's revelation. In society, we are never fully ourselves. We adapt, we fake, we put on masks. For most, this is useful, but for the truth seeker, it feels like betrayal. In solitude, however, there are no masks. No one to impress. You can finally be you. That's why solitude, though scary at first, becomes freedom. History proves this. Newton, Emily Dickinson, Nietzsche, all discovered their genius in isolation. For the thinker, solitude isn't emptiness, it's fullness. Not silence, it's the language of the soul. In that silence, you realize your value doesn't come from others' approval, but from what you discover inside yourself. But this clarity comes with a cost. The more you see the truth, the harder it is to bear the superficiality of the world. Intelligence doesn't just think, it feels. It notices fake smiles, shallow conversations, hidden envy. What others ignore, the thinker cannot unsee. And this constant awareness is exhausting. Schopenhauer put it simply: the less intelligent a man is, the less mysterious life seems to him. For the shallow mind, life is simple: work, talk, entertain yourself, repeat. For the deep mind, life is a maze of paradoxes, suffering and beauty, questions without easy answers. And these questions almost never find a place in casual conversation. That's why many intelligent people withdraw, not because they hate others, but because each trivial interaction erodes their energy. It's not rejection of others, it's loyalty to themselves, a refusal to keep pretending. Schopenhauer saw social life as a stage where egos compete for recognition, status, and control. What looks like friendship is often convenience. What looks like fun is often strategy. Behind laughter, there may be comparison. Behind kindness, sometimes envy. For the thinker, this theater becomes unbearable. The problem is not interaction itself, it's what it demands. To fit in, we exaggerate successes, hide weaknesses, change our words, and adapt our tone. Each small adjustment builds a character, a mask that slowly separates us from who we really are. For Schopenhauer, this was a waste of life, because the more you have inside you, ideas, questions, creativity, the less you can tolerate spending energy on appearances. You begin to realize that every minute wasted in shallow noise is a minute stolen from your growth. Maybe you felt this. Sitting in a meeting or a party, suddenly thinking, what am I doing here? What am I gaining from this? It's not arrogance, it's clarity. You see that many interactions are not about truth or meaning, but just distractions against the silence people fear. So the thinker faces a choice: continue playing the role society expects, or retreat to preserve their inner world. For Schopenhauer, solitude was not punishment, it was privilege, the place where the self stops, breaking into fragments, and becomes whole again. Being alone didn't mean emptiness for him. It meant authenticity, clarity, freedom. In solitude, there is no pressure to perform, no audience to please. Just you, face to face with your own mind. Of course, many find this unbearable. Silence reveals truths they don't want to face. But for the thinker, this is the very beginning of mastery. Solitude becomes training, the test of real strength. When no one claps, when there are no witnesses, when the only companion is your own soul, that is where inner power is built. Most people run away from this test, but the lucid ones embrace it. And in that embrace, they discover something society cannot give: the chance to grow without interruption, to think without limits, to create without distraction. Nietzsche, who inherited many of Schopenhauer's ideas, put it clearly: he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. And that why rarely appears in noise. It comes in silence, when we stop distracting ourselves and finally listen within. That is why so many creators, writers, philosophers, and visionaries discovered their greatest treasures in solitude, not because they despised others, but because they knew without solitude their gifts would never bloom. For them, solitude was not retreat, it was preparation. What looked like isolation was actually creation. What others called emptiness was in truth the birth of new worlds. Solitude, then, is not a prison. It is a spark. And that spark, born in silence, eventually shines brighter than any crowd could ever imagine. But this raises a question. If solitude is so valuable, why do most people fear it? Schopenhauer gave an answer, both harsh and liberating. Solitude is not only refuge, it is rebellion. In a world obsessed with approval, noise, and constant company, choosing silence is an act of courage. It means swimming against the current. It means telling the world, I do not need your validation to exist. And in a society built on appearances, this is true independence. Schopenhauer believed that the one who is content with themselves has reached a freedom few ever know. They are no longer slaves to parties, to trends, or to the eyes of others. Their source of strength is inside, and nothing external can take it away. Of course, this path is not easy. Solitude can hurt. It strips away distractions and forces us to face ourselves without masks. It can feel raw, uncomfortable, even painful. But that is where its value lies. In that discomfort, we are shaped. In that silence, we are taught. In that renunciation, we are freed. And here comes the paradox. The more we embrace solitude, the more genuine our relationships become. Why? Because when we no longer need others to complete us, we can finally share with them from a place of fullness. We don't seek in them what we lack. We give them what overflows. This is Schopenhauer's lasting gift, the idea that solitude is not the end of the road, but the beginning of real life. A life chosen consciously, without illusions, without masks. A life where strength comes from within, not from applause. So now it's your turn to reflect. Are you running from solitude, or are you learning to walk with it? If this resonates with you, write in the comments, "Solitude frees me." Don't just write it, declare it. Let it remind you that what many people fear might actually be your greatest power. Subscribe if you want to keep exploring these ideas. Leave a like so this message can reach others. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because remember, in a world full of noise, your silence might be your greatest revolution.